He's Tony. I'm Mike. And we are here for week 1. This is week 2. We're here for week 3. This is week 4. This is week 5. And this is week 6. And this is week 7. And this is week 8. Week 9. This is week 10. And this is week 11. This is week 12 of the Action Bowl.
16 competitors, each legends of the action film genre. 64 films, each at least 85 minutes long. 2 men, both with a lot of free time. This is the story of the final 4 competitors and their road to the Action Bowl. Arnold Schwarzenegger. In week 1, 2 legends clashed, Schwarzenegger versus Chan, in an epic showdown of 2 bad action movies. Arnold's action comedy Last Action Hero was overlong and underfunny, but somehow Chan's The Spy Next Door was even less entertaining. The only thing worse than 1 child in an action movie was 3, and Billy Ray Cyrus's hair should be considered a crime.
And this week, they both drew duds. It just so happens that Arnold Schwarzenegger's films stank a little bit less than Jackie Chan's. So, Jackie, we hate to see you go, but you gots to go.
Schwarzenegger had won, but he had nothing to be proud of. Arnold's second match had him square off against Wesley Snipes. Action film legend Wesley Snipes breezed through the first round when Blade smashed Chuck Norris's Firewalker. Handicapped by being paired up with James Belushi, Arnold still managed to make Passenger 57 Snipes' last flight.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for Wesley Snipes? Well, I'm going to tell you what that means. That means sometimes you should bet on red.
Oh, Wesley Snipes, into the Action Bowl, shame you go, never to be spoken of again.
When asked for a comment about his plan for later rounds of the Action Bowl, Schwarzenegger responded,
"What the hell is an action ball?"
Cynthia Rothrock. When Cynthia Rothrock was entered into the Action Bowl, many saw her as a long shot with almost no chance of going the distance. Her first matchup saw her square up against Kurt Russell. The chances of her winning seemed slim, and then fate intervened. While Cynthia didn't have the most screen time in Fast Getaway, she did manage to appear in a more entertaining film in a pivotal role. Russell may have escaped from New York and L.A., but he didn't escape from the Action Bowl of Shame.
But I got to be honest, she didn't win so much as you lost. So
You know how I feel. This is painful. I really don't want to do this. But, Kurt Russell, I'm sorry, but you're in the Action Bowl of Shame, never to be mentioned again.
Cynthia's win was controversial, but not undeserving. Her second matchup put her up against Ninja Master Sho Kosugi. On paper, seemed to be a pitch-perfect matchup of 2 schlock action cinema stars, but Kosugi's Enter the Ninja faltered in its consistency and didn't deliver enough of what the title had promised, ninjas. Rothrock struck back with no retreat, no surrender, and delivered a lethal high kick to Kosugi's Action Bowl ambitions with a powerhouse performance that was one of the tournament's most fun and entertaining films.
it's time to exit the ninja.
When asked for her strategy for the remaining rounds of the Action Bowl, Cynthia responded,
"If you don't get away from me, I'm calling security."
In round 3, Cynthia Rothrock will face off against Arnold Schwarzenegger. Will her luck hold out? Will her good looks and skill be enough to pull out a win against Schwarzenegger's raw power? Week 13 will reveal who will move on to the main event. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme has arguably faced the stiffest competition of any of the Action Bowl competitors. Van Damme's initial outing in Week 6, he went up against Patrick Swayze, the charismatic star of Point Break and Roadhouse. It would all come down to the draw. Luck was not on Swayze's side. In the film drawing, he pulled Steel Dawn to Van Damme's knockoff. Cheap clothes with Soviet bombs beat the apocalypse of boredom, and Van Damme moved forward.
I hate to do this to you, Patrick. I'm still a fan, but you're like the wind.
Just a fool to believe. Just a fool to believe.
In week 11, Van Damme faced off against Sylvester Stallone. Sly had already ended Bronce's dream of bringing home the trophy with a spectacular first-round showing. Could the muscles from Brussels stand toe-to-toe against the Italian stallion? Van Damme was represented by Double Team, and Stallone, Assassins. The competition was so even and so fierce that it resulted in an Action Bowl first, a tied score.
So for the first time in Action Bowl history, we have a tie.
Sudden death meant action, rock, paper, scissors, and Van Damme narrowly escaped elimination. When we asked Jean-Claude about his narrow victory in week 11, he replied,
"Why would you have a bull for that?"
Mel Gibson. Two juggernauts squared off in week 8. Mel Gibson faced off against Chow Yun-Fat, and in week 8, both contenders came to play. Gibson drew Lethal Weapon, and Chow Yun-Fat, A Better Tomorrow. Both films were well received and scored well. Chow Yun-Fat had performed admirably, but Gibson emerged victorious.
Even though the battle on that was hard fought, the Action Bowl is going to be going fat-free.
In week 12, Mel Gibson met up with Steven Seagal. Gibson was represented by Bloodfather, and Steven Seagal teamed up with Stone Cold Steve Austin, offering maximum conviction. What happened next has been described as a fucking beatdown. It was the most embarrassing thing that has happened to Seagal since he shit himself after being choked unconscious. Gibson moved into the last slot for the Final Four and prepares to square off against Van Damme in week 14. When asked about his prediction for the final round and the big event, Gibson responded,
"I wasn't driving and I haven't been drinking. Would you people leave me alone?"
Only 2 weeks remain before the main event. Who will reign supreme? Even we don't know. Stay tuned and find out.